Hey, welcome back to the stash. Picture this, ladies and gentlemen, you spend hours editing a video about an actual good Spider-Man comic, all for it to release on the day the newest ASM book also comes out. So then you're gonna go read and make a video on that one. Talk about going from a massive high to an incredible Nick low. You know, I would be lying if I said I don't regularly think about how lucky Bendis is to strangle that gangly f way back when. However, people have suffered more like Heather Glenn. Anyway, point is, talk about timing. Wait, why am I rhyming?
Lighten up, Holmes. I'm just messing with you.
If I'm being honest, after the way Nick Lowe spoke during the previous release, it's left me feeling even more emptier than usual, considering that the man in charge is pretty much against the entire point of Spider-Man and storytelling. And let me tell you, just a little secret for this issue, it somehow gets worse. So join us today as we go over The Amazing Spider-Man issue 58. But before we get into that, I just wanted to quickly let you all know that here at The Stash, we're trying to reach 4,000 subscribers before the end of October. I know it's a huge ask, but with your help, I know we can do it. So if you're new around here and you like Spidey or just comic content in general, feel free to stick around and maybe hit that subscribe button. But anyway, with all that being said, let's get straight back into the video. So in case you've missed the previous uploads, like if there is a playlist, I'll go over a quick recap. The upcoming trial of Tombstone has the New York criminal underground abuzz. The most shocking development wasn't the attempted murder of Spider-Man's legal proxy Peter Parker, but the revelation of the prosecution's star witness, Tombstone's own daughter, Janice Lincoln aka the Beetle. When Tombstone was released on bail, everyone began to fear that he would retaliate against the people Janice loves, namely former fiancé Randy Robertson. It was decided that for their safety, Janice and Randy should be transported out of the city until the trial, but Tombstone's gang struck before they could even make it out of the city. Spidey and his allies had prepared for this and played their hand, revealing that this transport had been a decoy to draw out Tombstone, while Janice waited it out in her apartment. But Tombstone outmaneuvered everyone, showing up at his daughter's apartment ready to do the unthinkable. Janice calls out to her father, but that part of him is long gone. Tombstone loads his gun ready to do what he's been forced to do. Somehow Janice, a person without any powers, leaps out of the way dodging the bullets and continues to do so for the next 5 panels. Who knew that Tombstone had such terrible aim? Meanwhile, at the failed transfer, She-Hulk prepares to rush over to go save Janice, but she's shocked to find out that the old webhead has already made his move. Back at the apartment, Janice puts her minor respite to good use as she puts on half of her Beetle costume. Lonnie slowly gets closer and closer until his daughter fights back, blasting his hand. Tombstone of course came prepared and throws an EMP to disable all her weapons. Janice begins to break down. She can't believe he'd do this to his own daughter, but to Lonnie right now, all she is a loose end, some state evidence. She lunges forward and allows Tombstone the perfect counter, resulting in him strangling her with his own bare hand. Somehow Janice holds on long enough for Spider-Man to burst through the window as he unleashes a fury of attacks onto Lonnie. Lonnie warns him if he wants to be the good guy this time, he better be ready to die. Spider-Man replies with, "Whatever it takes," and desperately tries to hold Tombstone back as his daughter attempts to go through the window. Lonnie manages to latch onto his daughter, trying to reel her back in, but then suddenly he loses his grip and Janice plummets towards the surface. Spider-Man rushes forward and catches her with a web line until Tombstone grabs the back of his head and smacks him into the wall. Somehow Janice must have a guardian angel watching over her because she not only fell from still a pretty high height, but she also landed right on her neck and managed to survive. So she tries her best to run away, holding her stomach as one does after almost breaking their neck, while her dad slowly, ever so slowly, runs after her. Janice somehow outruns her father even after all the injuries she sustained and rushes to the nearest open building with Spider-Man and Tombstone hot on the trail. But then Janice's luck seems to have finally run out for when she blindly enters a dead-end office space. Lonnie, fed up with the whole thing, grabs her hair and yanks her up, ready to deal the finishing blow. But oh no, her luck apparently hasn't run out just yet because Spider-Man intervenes once again. Jesus, she's got more plot armor than Mary Jane in Marvel's Spider-Man 2. Anyway, furious by her father's actions, she attempts to give him a little pain back. Janice somehow manages to cut deep into Lonnie's flesh with gloves that have nothing sharp on their ends to do so. In blinded fury, Tombstone starts to unleash a series of deadly blows, thinking he's finally killed his daughter, but yes everyone, one more time I promise, Janice somehow survives because Peter decided to become a human shield. Tombstone thinks, why stop now? I guess, and he just begins to unload many more strikes onto Spider-Man. While Spidey has once again saved Janice's life, she angrily tells him to get off and crawls away without saying thanks. Now it's just finally Spider-Man and Tombstone properly ready to battle it out. They both fight wildly, but then, catching Spidey off guard, Lonnie begins to bolt forward and takes them both crashing through the window. My god, we get it, Zeb Wells, you love Tombstone, okay? You've shown it time and time again that you clearly haven't read a single comic book and only know Spider-Man through the movies and TV shows. Here's a little newsflash for you, okay? Lonnie is nothing more than a C-lister. Even as someone who really likes Tombstone as a villain and enjoyed a lot of his classic stories like back during Spectacular Spider-Man and Web of Spider-Man, I find the writing here just plain stupid. Like, for the love of God, it's fucking Tombstone, not the Green Goblin. By this point, he should have been dealt with by now. He was way better earlier on in this series when he outwitted Peter to take out the rival gangs, because it would make more sense for him to have to try to outsmart someone who could realistically knock him out with one punch. I don't understand how Tombstone is just casually taking hits while strangling his daughter. Need I remind you that Spider-Man is able to knock out Firelord, a herald of fucking Galactus? Yet these days, he seems to be holding up barely better than Captain America. I mean, Spider-Man, believe it or not, is meant to be one of the strongest heroes in the Marvel Universe besides gods and godlike characters. According to Stan Lee, these are the only people stronger than Spidey during the 60s. He even makes note of the fact that he's only a teenager and that when he gets older, he'll grow stronger. But man, who reads comic books, am I right, Zeb and Nick? That stuff's for nerds. I've never seen Tombstone lift a car or as much as hold up a building. There should be no match. And before anyone says, oh, Spidey holds back, I have two things to say to that. One, holding back doesn't mean you can't win a fight easily. And two, why on earth would he hold back after seeing what Tombstone is about to do? Man, old Peter would go all out and handle this within a couple issues max. Jesus Christ, how do we go from this to this? I get that in a way it's for dramatic effect to draw the fight out, but then he should be somehow weaker either stated or shown. You can't have a guy lift a tank, be fast enough to dodge point blank shots, and be trained by Shang-Chi, yet still somehow get thrashed by a C-lister. Have Spidey be hit by a lung full of gas or something, you know, just anything to make it make a little bit more sense. This isn't an argument about power scaling, but more of a dumbness scaling. And let me tell you for a fact, it's off the charts. Make sure Zeb and Nick don't even see the 90s coolometer for this one.
Oh my goodness!
Also, I just have to ask, how on earth did Janice with one single move do more damage than Spidey within the entirety of the Wells run? Tombstone has previously been shown to be able to take bullets, yet here Janice, using gloves without anything sharp on the ends, almost rips his face off like that one time Sabretooth ripped Spider-Man's webbing off his. I remember the time the Punisher from the 90s chained Tombstone to a wrecking ball and dunked him into the sea, all because he knew he couldn't penetrate his skin with bullets. But hey, I mean, who cares about continuity? I mean, there's about several mistakes within this one issue alone. Also, wasn't the entire reason Lonnie became the Kingpin in the first place was just so he could protect his daughter? And now he wants to kill her. Okay, and does anyone remember when Janice actually looked like Janice? Like seriously, for some reason, whenever John Romita Jr. is on the pencils, she goes from looking like this to this. Hell, even in the same issue, he couldn't even get the design right. I don't know, man, it's really sad because I love JRJR, and you know, with this issue in particular, there's not much more I can really say, just except, again, it somehow gets worse. That's just the whole motto of the Amazing Spider-Man Volume 7 or whatever, it somehow gets worse. I mean, for Romita Jr., within this book alone, it's just horrible. There's some panels where Janice doesn't look human, there's some panels where Lonnie's face just nicely wraps around Peter's fist and just makes no sense with his character. And you still got the classic proportion issues within these faces and even just sometimes his bodies. It just doesn't blend together at all anymore. You know what's sad? This can be read in genuinely 3 minutes. Like really, it's not worth the asking price at all. It's a good dollar bin book, I guess, if you want to just burn it or use something for the campfire. But besides that, like nothing happens. Even the fight goes nowhere and gets a to be continued. I will say though that transition to the next cover thing was pretty cool. But that's about it. That's the only thing I liked was just the transition to the next cover. Nothing happens. This entire issue is just a prolonged fight scene between Tombstone and Spider-Man, which wasn't even impressive, nor worth dedicating an entire comic book to. What were they thinking? Overall, what more can I say? This book is shit, and Zeb Wells hands in yet another mess that will only be forgotten within a day of its release, and is anybody surprised at this point? I do wonder what Nick Lowe got up to within this issue though. Let me guess, deflecting more criticisms once again. Oh, for fuck's sake.